Be All here on Hot Radio Maine, currently in studio with a cast of characters from both far and wide, here and at home. I want everybody to just introduce themselves and tell us a short little background about you. First, let's start with Nate.
My name's Nate Winter, born and raised in little old Maine, from Kingfield, Maine originally, and kind of have navigated south along the way, currently in Windham. I've been a songwriter and musician for about 15 years. I also make and sell pottery and teach at Portland Pottery and do some artist management and production and having a great time.
The better question is, what don't you do? All right. My guy Nate out here doing a little bit of everything, artist through and through. And speaking of artists through and through, let's move on down to Native Wayne down here.
Maximum respect, man. Great to be here.
Yes, sir.
First time ever in Maine. Yeah, man, just came in from LA. I spent half the year in LA, half the year in Jamaica. Been a record producer, artist for many, many years, and I won some Grammys with No Doubt, Gwen Stefani and No Doubt, and been doing radio for a long time. I was a #1 station in America called K-Rock, world famous K-Rock in LA for many years, and then I helped to build a station called The Joint, which is on Sirius XM. So you have Sirius, you can hear The Joint, and that's the station that I built. And it was great to have a nationwide format for reggae music because it never happened before,
Hell yeah.
That was great. And so, and then about a year ago, we met Nate and heard his music and said, yeah, well, Nate Winter definitely is going to be one of the future Sublimes.
Yeah.
So we said, well, let's work on the music with him. So we recorded with him down in Miami, and the record came out great. And now we're just going to have the launch party on Saturday.
Yeah, we're getting ready for Missing Piece, dropping on all streaming services on Friday, the 24th. We got that album release party coming up this Saturday. Before we get to that, though, let's introduce our other guest, Adrienne. Come on now.
Hi there. I'm Adrienne Mack-Davis. Nate, thanks for having me. Thank you for having me, Be All.
Of course.
I was born and raised in Rochester, New York, and I've been following music since I was very young. And that journey has landed me here. Met Nate about, 5 years ago? And we've been working together ever since, and it's really wonderful to see him come into his own like this. So, yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
The music bringing us all together. That's what we love to see. All right, so I have a personal motto. It's, how could you be mad today? So, Nate, I want you to tell me one thing you're feeling good about.
I'm feeling good about how, this project has taken like almost a year and a half to put together, and at points in time I thought that it wasn't going to happen in one way, shape, or form, whether I wasn't capable enough to do it or just the team at large, and it all came together, and now we're here, and got this release party coming up, and then a tour to follow, and certain things that I never thought I'd be capable of doing, I'm doing right now, so super grateful for that.
Yeah, that's what we like to see, and I feel like it's been a long time coming. You got your debut solo album, right? So I feel like I've known you for a little bit now,
5 years.
Yeah,
4 or 5 years.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know exactly how I would describe your genre of music. I don't think you have one. I think you kind of have your hands in a few different projects here and there. Like when we worked together that one time on that one take video, that was more of like a cypher beat hip hop style. You know what I'm talking about? So what would you describe the sound of Missing Piece as?
So this was like definitely a reggae project for sure, but it's rooted in singer-songwriter, storytelling type of stuff. I come from a background of a lot of like Americana folk rock type of stuff.
Yeah.
Some of the earliest stuff that I was learning and playing when I was younger was like even like Johnny Cash and Chris Christopherson, Bob Dylan, things like that. So that's always inspired my writing. And so with this project in particular, I was feeling this vibe around the summer, fall of 2021. I had just worked on Greenwood's Reggae Festival, and I was sort of managing that. And I was doing the sort of event coordination and stage management, and I got to actually, when I saw Jesse Royal perform his headlining set, it blew me away. And I've been listening to reggae for about since I was maybe 13, 14 years old, when I was truly starting to discover it. And but there was something about that vibe that brought it back out of me where I was like really inspired to write within the reggae genre.
Yeah.
And it was like a floodgate. And very soon after that moment, which was pretty spiritual and pretty just overwhelming, and the gratitude I felt and just the experience of the whole crowd and engaging with this man who was sort of preaching almost.
Yeah.
And sharing this beautiful music, like that just inspired me and lit a fire under me. And these 3 songs that I wrote were a collection of many other songs, but they were some of the best that we had all kind of collectively thought would have been good to record when we met up together. But it just felt like this vibe of love and positivity. They're kind of like love songs, but they weren't really written about anybody in particular. It was more this thing that I was looking for.
Yeah.
And that sort of... It's felt like these songs in particular felt like they belonged together. They were sharing the same vibe and same energy, the same creative flow state that I was in.
Yeah.
And then there's many more to come too, but these were the first. We were actually supposed to do 2 songs when I met these gentlemen in Miami to record at Circle House, but they heard this song that I had wrote only a week prior to meeting, which was Missing Piece.
Yeah.
And they're like, we got to throw this one on there. We're going to do a 3rd track. And I came up with, weirdly enough, the Missing Piece concept. I knew I wanted that to be my album before I wrote the song Missing Piece, so I reverse engineered it. I had the concept and philosophy before I had the song, and I was in this place where I felt like I had everything going right for me besides my romantic love life. So it was more this like, you're the only missing piece to my puzzle is this person I'm missing, this missing piece, so to speak.
I
and
see.
everything, the whole puzzle is filled in besides this one missing piece component. And that's what sort of inspired this project at large. And even the cover art is sort of, it's 4 puzzle pieces. And since this project is made up of 3 tracks, or 7 tracks, but 3 songs. So I did 3 live band stuff with in the studio, and then the acoustic versions of them with a little intro, but it's comprised of 3 songs. And so the 3 puzzle pieces all have imagery from those songs, and then there's a missing piece where the title of the project is in that missing piece. And the back cover of the album is that missing piece floating in space somewhere that I haven't quite got yet. And I have a line in this project, the whole universe in my arms when you hold me. So the artist and I came up with this idea of putting the universe in that missing puzzle piece that's sort of floating away. So it's this, and actually, which is this
yeah,
so
you see it right there.
Little plug, if you will.
Damn, where can we get the merch?
This was actually just printed by Arm Factory. They're going to be available at my release party first exclusively.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to get one. I gotta get fresh out here. You already know.
But that's the whole philosophy and how this whole thing came together. Is I was like really longing for both romantic love and self-love and things like that, and I felt like that was really the missing piece to my puzzle, and that's where this whole project kind of came from.
So we got a good overarching theme for the project here. Yeah.
What's crazy is I wrote that song and recorded it less than a week before I went out there. And, and it's sort of like, it was an odd manifestation type of thing, if you will. Because like I wrote, the hook is it me or am I just going crazy? I've been working too hard. It's time for me to lay on the beach and be lazy. All across the nation, on every station, the radio plays me. Now you're the only missing piece to my puzzle, baby. But what's weird is I wasn't laying on a beach yet. I wasn't having my songs on the radio yet. I wasn't doing any of that, you know, but it was like something I really wanted and was like striving for. And oddly enough, a week later, I'm in one of the biggest studios in the country with, you know, hit makers and with the team that they put together for me. And here we are.
I mean, you got to talk about it, talk it into existence, you know? A lot of people, I feel like that's a good way to write. Like, you got to talk about where you want to be, where you want to end up. I mean, it's nice to talk about your experiences and and maybe the experiences of those around you, but sometimes it's nice to look forward into the future and be like, yeah, that's where I'm going to be. I might not be there yet, but that's where I'm going to be. So, Wayne, when you first heard the music from Nate, you heard Missing Piece. What did you think about it?
I mean, just great songwriting. The thing that's really missing in rock reggae, and I just came yesterday, I was at a show called Cali Vibes, which is the biggest reggae festival in the country, and it was Jack Johnson, Snoop Dogg, but most of the other artists were Revolution and people like Stick Figure and the whole of them. And you know, a lot of those bands are great, and they can sell out. Like we had 90,000 people over 3 days, and you know, the bands can sell out that, but the songs themselves are not that strong. You don't really have anybody covering a Stick Figure song. You know, although they're great live and they have a vibe. So when I heard Nate, I was like, okay, this brings me back to, because I was the first one on the radio to play Brad Noel and Sublime. When I first heard his music, I said, well, I have to play this. And then it became one of the biggest bands in the world from hearing those songs. So now hearing Nate, I hear those kind of level of songwriting, and that's why we were interested in working with him to get those songs. So because reggae, of course, is big, and we're lucky enough, we grew up in Jamaica.
Yeah.
My cousin managed Bob Marley, and so we grew up going to the studio with Bob and listening to him and all that. And so I saw what the greatest songwriting in the world was. We're lucky enough to be around that kind of greatest. And I still think the most important artist of all time is Bob Marley.
Yep.
So to be around that, so all you're doing is constantly trying to find those songs again. And I found them in Brad Noel. And then when we heard Nate, we said, here's another writer who can go to that level.
That's some high praise right there. Yeah, no, I mean, the songwriting we already know. That's a strong suit right there. But man, I feel like, how could you not beam hearing something like that? I mean, that's awesome. What was the songwriting process like between y'all? Like when y'all went to go make a song together, did you start with like a melody, a line that, maybe stuck in your head?
Well, Brian jumped in a second to my brother. Brian jumped in. Brian, who wrote the song?
Yeah, well, me and Wayne, our brothers, grew up in Jamaica, born, and been
Brian Jobson, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we had a group Native, and anyway, yeah, so gone on to production now, kind of gave up touring after 20 years on the road. But no, when as a matter of fact, my cousin in Jamaica was the first one who heard Nate's songs and then sent it to us, right? And, we get, offers to do production at different people all the time. And half of the things you say, well, yeah, I'm not sure, right? But as I heard Nate's stuff, definitely there was some kind of magic there. As you hear it, I can hear 2 bars of a song and I know, yeah, there's something here, something substantial. So
it was Happy Cup that you guys heard first too, which was the only song I had ever released as a solo artist, and it was a sketch acoustic thing I put out. I made a music video, recorded it, wrote it in less than a week, put it out, and I was like, I just have to do this because I'm the king of writing 30 songs, 50 songs and never showing anybody, and then they just live in the vault forever. But they had caught wind of the little sketch music video that I had put out, and then they were like, we have to do this for real.
Yeah.
And then so it was Happy Cup, and then another one, and then he sent Missing Piece, and I said, wow, this one is real. It has a lot of depth to it, So
we decided the night before we were going to do Missing Piece, because I had met them for the first time the day before we went to the studio to kind of audition some of these songs and show them, and then they're like, yeah, we have to do this one as well.
And then with some songs, when you get them and then they want to record them, and it's kind of like a visit to the dentist, you have to do a lot of surgery on them, it's because, where do you begin? But Nate's songs were like basically completed. All you need to do is just get the right arrangements and things like that. So we just added a few little things here. We got some, the drummer who is for Inner Circle, and he plays with Casey and the Sunshine Band. So these guys are really, really good session players. Yeah. Some of the guys from Third World and that, So once you have good musicians around, and the songs just take a shape that you would never think of from the beginning, So we just sat back and watched the magic happen,
Well, and he was a part of it. He played bass on the project.
Yeah,
so he was actually in the studio band that we created together, and we did 6 takes for 3 songs. And I thought, just to be perfectly honest, I did not think it was going to happen. Like, because we had hard outs for people, and the time was ticking, and they hadn't set up drums, they hadn't done anything, right? And then when we all got there, Wayne had asked, "Did you guys get the songs?" And they said no. So they had not heard the songs yet. So
to realize, like, especially with the local musicians, Jamaican musicians, right? We go in and you just want to hear, like, what's the key, and sing it once, and then we take, and all of the great songs are usually just one take.
Oh, okay.
From old Studio One days, all of those songs are it is just like an assembly line. They have a rhythm and guy come in and you have 5 minutes to this, do it, and you go out. So I wasn't worried. No, Nate had been he wasn't really used to like working with a band because he was in a bed sit guy.
Solo dolo guy, yeah.
So he makes all the decisions. But when you come to work with a band and other musicians, once you're surrounded by them, you don't have to worry about them. You don't even need to rehearse. The magic just happens once you start playing because they get the vibe. And all of the guys, and I told Nate that one of the things is, all of the musicians who came and played, they came back the next day and said, I want to hear it. I mean, I want to correct everything. Usually these guys, give me the money, I'm gone.
Yeah.
But, so that was really props to him, So everybody could see the potential there and the magic. And he stood up and, I think it was a good experience for him,
Yeah, absolutely. And the craziest thing about this is some of the people that played on this project just showed up because that's a part of the culture of Circle House is people just show up and hang out, right? So Cat Core, we had not planned for him to be there, but he just decided, he's from Third World and just a very esteemed guitar player, cello player.
Yeah.
And he just hopped on for Love just to hang out and be a part of it. And I felt like it was a huge honor. Same with Paul Fakori, who's he's a legend. And it was so weird. I felt like I was in a room full
Lauryn Hill, yeah.
So he discovered Lauryn Hill. He did the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
And Jasmine Sullivan, too.
Right. So, I mean, and he's touched everything, though. Like, he's touched almost everything. And it was the most bizarre feeling where I was in a room full of legends, and the legends saw another legend. Yeah. And the legends were like,
starstruck by the other. You're like, wait, cool. I'm supposed to be starstruck by them? I thought I was starstruck by you. Like,
we were warming up, getting ready for Happy Cup, the first track we were gonna lay down, and Paul walks in, and then Tauter, who's the keyboard player of Inner Circle, he just gave Paul the headphones and he was showing him what he was coming up with, and he loved it. And then he was like, "Do you guys have an intro to this song?" And we said no. And then he was like, "Try this," and he does this thing, and then we like hit record and then do it. So Paul is somehow like embedded in that song just with that little intro, the first 2 seconds Paul Fakori is responsible for. And that's like amazing. And that's just out of love. And as soon as he showed up, he was gone. I don't even remember saying goodbye to him. He just showed
a little Irish goodbye.
But it was phenomenal. And so they had heard these songs before we had met in the studio, but we had only met a day before we went to the studio.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things that I experienced was they showed up with notes for my songs. Brian had already wrote a bridge to Happy Cup. Sheesh. And he showed it to me, and I was like, "Oh my God, this guy's like already got something," And it showed me that I wasn't the only one with skin in the game showing up. And one of his favorite songs, Brian's favorite songs that we decided to do, we ended up calling One and Only, but it was originally called Don't Mind Me, and they made the intro and the outro the chorus.
Yeah.
So they completely rearranged it. Brian's son is an engineer, and they kind of like helped cut and rearrange the song. And it went from my least favorite song that I had written to one of my favorites, just from simply rearranging. They didn't add any new lyrics, but the way it just felt like, oh, this is a finished song now. This makes
crazy how
sense.
you can change the feeling of a song just by rearranging it.
And that's what they did with One and Only, and it became one of everybody's favorites. It's probably unanimously almost everybody's favorite on the project that I've showed so far. And it's cool to know that was not my strongest song before they touched it. And it just goes to show the difference between like a songwriter and a producer. And these guys are both of those. But I felt like for the first time I was working with producers that were able to make this as good as it could possibly be.
Sometimes you need that outside source to kind of give you an idea of something that you didn't even think of or couldn't see or think of,
Right.
I think it sounds like it was a lot of really cool free-flowing sessions.
It was really
I'm a little envious of not being able to be in that kind of environment. That's awesome. Man, the studio environment, I feel like for you, he kind of touched on it. You're like, a bedroom studio guy, right? Solo dolo, you get in there, you're in charge of everything. What was it like, from your point of view, being like, oh, like I'm not fully in control right now. I'm kind of taking everything.
It was terrifying. Well, I'm a control freak. I'm a perfectionist. I'm like all the above, So like that, it was really hard for me to give up control. And but I did it. I wasn't putting up a fuss. I kind of I gave up some control there. But it was, and especially, I don't necessarily consider myself a reggae artist exclusively. This is something that I'm exploring, this vibe and this feeling, but I don't want to be pigeonholed to that. So I wanted to make sure that we were still capturing the aesthetic that I wanted from this and not just kind of doing what everybody else was telling me to do. So I wanted to make sure, because I'm the reason why I haven't put anything out sooner was because I care a lot about my craft and I want to do it right. And so because I care so much about it, that's partly where that comes from, of not wanting to give up control because you don't want somebody to ruin it. But why not, instead of thinking that somebody may ruin it, I started to think that this could be dope and better than something I could have ever done on my own.
They could enhance it.
Right. And so I kind of changed my position on that a little bit, and it was the best thing that happened to me because I never thought that I would have been capable to play to a live band. I thought that it was like too out of the realm of my skill set to do it since I had never done it. And I remember asking them the day before we recorded, I was like, "Are you sure we're going to do this over a live band? Like we're not gonna do this one part by part?" And they're like, "No, we're gonna get a vibe." And it scared the crap out of me, but we did it. And for some reason, even, it took us 6 takes to do it, and nobody really messed up. We all vibed. We all it wasn't any nuclear mess ups. It was like it was in the pocket the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think it's just that trust and belief that everyone had in each other, because you can't fail with that many good people in a room. That much talent, you can't fail when you have that. So
everyone's got the similar goal, similar mindset,
right?
And like you said, you were a little scared of the whole situation, but you leaned into that fear, and now you got a finished project.
Well, and to be honest, that's partly where Adrienne comes into this mix, because she's like my big sister, and I look up to her a lot. So I took her out there with me to help sort of facilitate this mission. And
Okay.
she sang on 2 of the tracks, doing some backup vocals and building a choir that we put together. And it was kind of impromptu. We didn't know what she was going to do, if she was going to sing at all. But I know Brian was like, "We got to get this girl to sing on."
Yeah.
Also, Adrienne steadied the ship. You got a little shaky sometimes, and she had to just, easy, Nate, easy.
What happened was we did vocal tracking last.
Yeah.
So I had already spent a day and a half of just balls to the wall recording and sort of everything, and I was playing a little bit of a producer role too, wanting to make sure everything was going to plan and like sort of overseeing everything and not taking many breaks. So I was shot. My voice was toast.
Yeah.
And it was not happening for me. So, and then Adrienne got me some throat coat. She gave me a little pep talk. She was, she was there for me.
Right in the ship.
But so, I've been working with Adrienne professionally for about 5 years, and she's one of the best performers I've ever seen in my life, best songwriter. So I knew that I needed sort of that helping hand for this first project, and I believe that I didn't want to take anybody else other than her with me to like help do this, and it was well worth it. And now we're on a cool mission together, and we got 2 release parties coming up. We got a tour to South by Southwest Festival in Austin coming up. So yeah.
Adrienne, what's it been like to kind of watch Nate's journey and the way that you guys have grown together? How's that relationship grown?
I mean, it's kind of full circle. It's absolutely full circle, because when I met him, I was doing another project. I was doing New Fame for years, and that's how we had originally met. And I think, both me and my partner at the time understood that he had so much potential, you know what I mean? And he saw that in us as well. And so it's just beautiful to like see that over these past 5 years, especially because he was so reserved. And I was like, "Yo, you gotta go out in your car and like just scream at the sky or something, man. You gotta like let loose." So I think, this whole experience going down to Florida, like just really taking it on, and like, he went completely, he didn't leave anything on the floor. Like he left it all on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to find the
No, I know what
phrase,
you're saying.
you know what I mean? And it was cool to see him take that risk, and you benefit when you do that. You face the fear and you do it anyway. And he wound up with an amazing project, and incredible relationships in his life. So yeah.
Those relationships keep on building. Now, speaking of relationships, with the Jobsons here, these are some of your newest. I want to know, so for you, you've produced music for artists, for TV, you've won Grammys and whatnot, and it's led you here to Maine. But did you ever think you would find some talent like this here from the state of Maine?
Definitely not. The only person I'd ever heard of from Maine before was Fish. Jam band, not with structured songs. You would never expect to hear like great songs coming out of Maine.
Yeah.
So it's really, really powerful, man. So Nate definitely has that magic of the great songs,
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And I mean, the first time ever here, it's kind of a little bit cold coming from Jamaica, but
Yeah, for sure.
Worth it to get to see these guys live. To see Nate and Adrienne live on Saturday.
Have you ever seen them perform live?
No.
No.
Yeah.
All right. So a little pressure there. I'm just kidding. No pressure here. So it's your first time in Maine, so we got to get you some lobster, right?
Definitely, man. That's what I've been looking forward to, man.
If you don't get this man some lobster.
Yeah, because Jamaica has good lobster, but not on this level,
Yeah, not quite the same. Not quite the same.
We actually have have Lady Shuckers who's participating in this event, who's going to have oysters and lobster sliders and different things like that. So you'll get some good Maine seafood for this event.
Well, so we're talking about the event now. Let's let the people know. We got the release party for Missing Piece on Saturday. The 25th is coming right up. And man, I'm stoked to be a part of it. I appreciate you even considering me having be there as the host and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to it. But what can the people fully expect when they show up to the Coliseum, Lewiston?
Yeah, so this is a club inside of the arena in Lewiston, Maine, called the Coliseum Club, and my friend and business colleague Craig of Beachside Media is helping me put this event on. So they're going to have a big presence there, and Craig he's connected to a lot of people, so there's going to be like a live muralist there doing paintings, and it's going to be very artsy and vibey. He's decking it out with lights. It's going to be a real cool like club vibe there. And I'm opening up with, I'd like to do some sort of like conversation piece about this project so we can let the fans know about sort of how this all came together, and then transition into my set, which I'll be playing my project front to back as well as some new songs as well with a live band that is both working with Adrienne and myself for our material.
Nice.
And so we're doing that together. I'll be playing for about a half an hour, and then I'm passing it off to Dave Gutter, recent Grammy winner. So he's. I
was gonna say Grammy award-winning Dave Gutter. Yes.
Yeah, as of just 2 weeks ago, which is fantastic. So he's performing a duo set. And then headlining, or sort of to round off the end of the night, will be Adrienne Mack-Davis and our live band backing her as well. And we both have releases coming up in the next week. So she's got her album dropping next week as well, and a release party next week as well, which she can speak to.
Yep.
And so we're kind of gearing up for both of these release parties, and then hitting the road on tour.
That's what I like to hear. All right, Adrienne, let's hear about your project. Come on now, hype it up. Tell us all about it.
Healer, coming March 2nd, 2023. It's been quite a journey. You know, it's interesting because we kind of twinned a little bit, Nate and I, you know, and I was at a place in my life where I wasn't really trying to put a project together at all. And, you know, I had just gotten through with kind of just touring for 12 years. So I was like, I just need to rest a little bit. And there's Nate, you know, doing a bunch of cool stuff. He's like, yo, come along, be a part of this. And that, you know, that inspired me to write and have something, you know, to be able to show and support.
Yeah.
And that turned into a project. You know, it was just the right place, right time. You know, all the right elements came together, and I'm excited to share it with everybody. It's been a heck of a year, so it's going to be a great show.
A lot of work has been put in between both of y'all right here.
So we've been performing her material as a band for almost a year and a half now, and now this is a brand new mission, sort of with myself utilizing that same band for my project. So this will be my first show with this band for my own material, but we've been doing her set for about a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
And it's coming together beautifully, and super stoked to be a part of it.
Was the plan always to put the projects out like back to back with each other, or just kind of happened that way?
Serendipity, yeah, it makes sense.
What's also super weird is we had a moment in time back in 2021 where we kind of lost touch for about a half a year, and that's when we sort of got back into each other's lives. Is when I reached out to her and I was like, I need my big sis on this mission with me, you know. And her single that she had worked on, Healer, which is now the single of this project, part of the hook is "You've Been Filling Me Up."
Yeah.
And my hook that I wrote completely without even knowing what she was working on is "You fill up my happy cup." Just like
intertwined.
It was the weirdest thing, like almost in the same ballpark of time we wrote that exact sort of like thing, this like sort of shared philosophy that like it was weird how we were twinning on our journeys, and both of us had just recently got out of like long-term sort of relationships, business and romantic, so it's like there was a lot of things happening where it felt like we just needed to do this journey together. So
well, I'm glad y'all had each other to walk through that with. That's awesome. It sounds like it's been a great relationship from front to back. I mean, from the music to just the friendship, everything.
Well, we complement each other a lot too, because like there's a lot of things that I can provide from a business and structure standpoint that she doesn't provide, and I need her woo-woo artist energy to kind of help me too, you know. So like
well, it's good that you can recognize, you know, that like, hey, I don't got that, but she got that, and she don't got this, but I got this, you know. So those kinds of relationships work out the best.
That's the best team that you can get, is when everyone complements each other. You can't have a room full of people that all do the same thing.
No. All right, I have a question. We got a room full of musicians. My favorite part of being a musician, I think it's got to be, is is performing, just getting up on stage, and I mean, you've been touring and stuff, you know. So, but that to me is like, oh, like just sharing that energy with everybody. It's just different than being in the studio, which I also love, but not to that degree. What is y'all's favorite part of being a musician?
I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm just learning how to be a performer now, but I feel so comfortable in a studio. It's the safest, most comfortable place I can ever be in my life is in a studio with good musicians. We just started tracking the Bulkheads album, which is another one of her projects. It's probably one of the funnest times I've ever had in my life. We all had such a blast. We had like 8 of the best musicians around all playing together, and it was so tight, so much fun. And I love producing, and I love songwriting. I love arranging. I love everything that goes into what a song becomes.
Yeah.
But now I'm learning how to love performing. It's always really scared me and intimidated me to sort of share that piece of myself with people, especially being a perfectionist and a control freak. You want to control everything in those moments, and
that's
can't.
the least controllable place to be.
So that's partly why I think performing's super good for me as a human and not just as like an artist, because it's like taught me how to give up control and be comfortable with not knowing what's going to happen and all these outcomes, and leaving room for that, because there's a lot of beautiful stuff that can happen. Making room for that. And I've seen, one of my favorite stories is I watched Adrienne do a house party one time. She tripped over water, spilled it everywhere, cleans it up while singing, and everyone thought it was the coolest thing ever. And it's like, dude, like you made
You roll
magic,
with the
right?
punches when you perform live. You roll with the punches.
Right. And I think that seeing enough of that where you can spin something that you could have had a panic attack and freaked out and like lost.
I used to stop whole songs.
But that's decades of experience, and that's why I keep her around, because she,
Decades? Damn.
You've been doing it your whole life.
It's funny because like
You ain't been doing this your whole life.
My nickname is Babs in the crew, so short for Babushka.
No, but it's true. Like the live aspect of it, I always talk about it with other artists and whatnot. It's like, as long as you keep it going, if you mess up something like that, no one knows besides you, really.
People want to be entertained.
People just want to be entertained. And so like you said, like rolling with the punches like that could be part of the show that, you know, you didn't even anticipate, but then it turns into something really cool, you know? And so it's one of those things where you just got to roll with it and just know that nobody knows what you know. All right. So just keep going, you know?
And you know, one thing is that before we came down here, me and Nate were talking about, you know, he was talking about like, you know, one of the scariest moments for him is getting on stage, you know? And then he was talking about like last year, he jumped out of a plane. Right? So I said, well, think of going on stage like that. In the studio, you have a safety net, right? And, you know, if you mess up, you can overdub, whatever. But when you step out on the stage, it's like you're stepping out of the plane.
Yeah.
Without any net, right? Or without any parachute.
So
you know,
true.
so you have to prepare. If you as you say, you walk on stage and you trip, the audience will applaud you because they say, how did he think of doing that? Yeah. Brilliant. You understand? So you have to take the mistakes and roll with them and make it seem just totally natural, you know?
Yeah.
You break a string, then you're going to play with 5 strings or whatever,
right.
You know? You start a song in the wrong key, you stop the band and say, I'm singing right, but you guys are in the wrong thing. I mean, you make something out of it, and that's
right.
So it's entertainment as well.
Right.
And the audience don't know whether the song was too fast or too slow or whatever, you know?
100%.
And the thing is that you write a song and you record it, and then you go and play it. And when you go and play it, it changes because you tailor it to how the audience reacts, you know. So sometimes, you know, you do a thing and then you said, man, I should have recorded that before.
Exactly.
You know? I should have recorded it like that.
I learned that from her.
Yeah, so
she taught me that songs evolve. Like she'll take a year to 2 years to release a song because she's learning it while she's performing it.
And you know what works, this part doesn't really work, or the song that you think is a throwaway song is like the main song that gets the audience reaction.
Right.
So it's kind of, you need to do things back ways. You need to write the songs, go on tour with them for a year, and then put out your record. You know?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, that's what I found anyway.
That's actually a cool way to look at it. Yeah, you can really test it, you know, and see what works and what doesn't.
Especially not because this is not necessarily your world because you perform over instrumentals.
Yeah.
So like when you're dealing with a live band, it's different
yeah.
every single time you do it, and It's wild. It's really strange because everybody's in different headspaces. Everybody's feeling different feelings, different vibes. Sometimes if the crowd's really energetic, you play a little faster, like this and that. It's like I've listened back to some of my sets and I'm blown away at how different of a BPM I played it at, or like just the way that I was composing myself or carrying myself, or the way I go into a note or don't, depending on how it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And then I've like, you know, there's been songs that I've been working on for 2, 3, 4 years now, and then I'm just learning something about it now.
Yeah.
Like where I'm just like, oh, here's a bridge I never even thought about. And I'm so glad I didn't release this song. And it's the same thing with Happy Cup too. Like I'm so grateful that Brian had this new bridge idea, because it always felt like it was a 2-minute song, and now we made it like a 2.5-minute song or something. You know what I mean? Like we
and
gave
that
it
bridge just kind of gives it a new flavor, you know? Yeah.
Exactly. And maybe you can speak about this too, Brian, about the philosophy of like bridges. I know Sting had said one time about like a bridge should be like posing a question, and then the remainder of the song is sort of answering that question. So it's not this sort of static thing. But what's weird about the trend in music now, especially, I've been on a real big Afrobeat kick recently, and I'm noticing these are like 2.5-minute songs with the same elements, but just parts and pieces are being added and taken away.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see how in time song structure is almost completely different. There's no such thing as a third verse in hip hop anymore.
No.
There's like, there's like all these.
And honestly, I'm going to say thank God.
But back to the main point of like just the evolving of these songs, that's one thing that's interesting too, is I'm playing with this band now, and now we're writing outros to something, or we have these pause breaks, or we have these things that I never thought about when I was writing the song. But now that I have all these parts and pieces, we can now account for that.
Yeah. No,
I know there was one time that Adrienne and I were playing one of her songs, just solo acoustic stuff, and she did the last chorus a cappella to Healer, and it was one of the coolest moments where it's like we didn't plan that, we had no idea that was going to happen. It's like, oh, we need to do that more often. That was a lot of fun.
I've definitely had some happy accidents on stage where it's like you do something that you did not plan, and then you're like, wait, that's in the set every time now, because like that sounded dope.
Right.
Shout out performing.
Yeah, shout out to performing. Hey, get out on that stage, have you a damn good time. I know you're going to on Saturday.
Yeah.
No question. Anything else you want to let the people know about just the album and the event itself?
Well, I think that this project is not my oldest material, so what's going to be weird is I'm releasing material I've written sooner than upcoming projects of mine are going to be some of my older catalog. But this was like about 1.5 years in the making, which seems like a long time for 3 songs, if you will, but that should show the level of like effort and care and that went into something like this, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of things went into that. So I feel super, even though it looks very different than the way I anticipated this project to be, I'm super, super proud of it. And I'm proud of everybody that was involved, and myself included. And I felt like there was a point where I reached one of the lowest points of my life after this recording session and all of these things, feeling imposter syndrome, feeling a million different things. And now like that I'm starting to now, as Adrienne said, this full circle sort of thing of really feeling like I belong in this moment, and like sort of embracing it and stepping into the blessing and taking it, by the horns.
Yeah.
So
You have to step into it,
Yeah.
You got no choice now.
Yeah, and also I'd like to grab your mic too. Yeah, no, you. I'm talking about tour. Yeah.
Yeah, what's up?
So we have my release party on the 25th, and then Adrienne's on March 2nd at Book and Bar in Portsmouth. And so we're both releasing our albums this week and next week, and then we're going to be hitting the road with 2 local acts, Jacobson and A Lunar Landing. Jacobson will also be co-hosting that night at the release party, and maybe doing a little freestyle here or there. And A Lunar Landing as well. Some of my favorites. I've been working with these artists for about 5 years, producing them and working with them locally. And we're all going on the road. We're starting off in New York City at Rockwood Music Hall. We're heading to Austin, Texas for a week, and then we're hitting New Orleans, Bourbon Street. We're hitting all sorts of really cool locations. So I'm excited to share this project on the road. I'm also equally excited to promote Adrienne's stuff because I'm in her band. So it's the coolest thing to be a part of her and her craft as well.
You're going to be DJing at official South by Southwest
with Homeboy Sandman that
Okay.
night, working at that's Shangri-La in Austin. But yeah, I never thought in a million years this is something that I'd be doing, and I'm really grateful to be a part of it. So
Man, got a lot of stuff to look forward to. Albums dropping, release parties, tour. What more could you ask for? Missing Piece, Friday. We got the release party Saturday at the Lewiston Coliseum Club. Make sure you come on through. Doors open at 6:30. And I got a question for our visitors from away, Wayne and Brian. The main motto is the way life should be. So according to you guys, in your words, what is the way life should be?
Well, the way life should be, you wake up in the morning, you drink your coffee, whatever, and, you know, the rest of the day goes smoothly, and you can close your eyes at night and know that you've accomplished something.
Yeah.
And also,
With no stress.
and Wayne here, I think we have such a short time here on this planet, and we have to be doing something to help the world. So every day, you do something and make sure you help somebody every day. And your music should also have a message in it. It can't just be "I love you, the sky is blue." If you're writing songs, they have to be stories, and they have to have stories. And we're lucky to be around the greatest songwriter of all time, I think, Bob Marley. And if you listen to the message in his songs and the stories in his songs, and the kind of stories that they have in country music, and that's why I love country music as well too. So have those stories and do something. Have lyrics that can kind of impact the world and change the world.
And
You heard
for
it here
Nate,
first.
I mean, all his life is leading up to the moment now.
Right.
So don't feel that you're an imposter. Just own it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's just because, I think that when you lack confidence a lot of your life, have poor self-image, you have these sort of feelings. Like, I remember when I got to Miami, I was like, I don't belong here. What am I doing here?
I'm a kid from Maine.
Yeah, it really, really felt that way. But, when somebody like Dave Gutter winning a Grammy, I think that just goes to show that this is a Maine born and bred legend, and he's still out here.
We have some good examples of that here in Maine. I mean, there might not be a ton of them, but there's a couple, and really all you need is a couple.
Right.
All you need is one, So.
Well, and I'd like to also proudly announce that Dave Gutter is co-writing and producing my next album.
Oh.
So we're working on that together right now, which I'm super proud about. I caught him just a couple weeks before he won the Grammy, so I
That's awesome.
feel lucky before that price goes way up,
Price going up. Yesterday's price ain't today's price.
But yeah, so I think the working title for that is Stories right now. I want to have a collection of 12 songs that's just all storytelling, because a lot of my early work and early catalog was like Americana, country, folk sort of storytelling stuff.
Yeah.
My roots is my acoustic guitar. I write almost every song that I start on an acoustic guitar. And I want to kind of dip into that catalog and release it before it gets too stale. It's like 3-4 years in the making that I've been working on some of these songs, if not longer. So I've been crunching away at that. And so you'll hear something very different from me coming up as well.
Awesome.
And a couple singles throughout the summer as well, too, little one-offs.
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well, so.
I mean, you got to sprinkle a little something in there for the people at the summertime, especially,
Right,
Well, we got a lot of work on the way. It sounds like all the work that you've been putting in is finally going to pay off in a lot of ways. All the music, you're just, even if it doesn't pay off in ways that are like huge awards, it's going to pay off in the way that you have finally put out this music that you want to send that message to the world. Like he was saying, have a message in your music, and we already know that you're going to have that. So I'm looking forward to hearing the album. I'm looking forward to hearing the music that comes after the album, and I'm looking forward to the release party.
Much love, man. Can we plug some socials and stuff
Yeah, I was
like
going to
that?
say, where can we find everybody at?
Cool. So I'm at Nate Winter Official on Instagram. Working on a new website because I'm a I teach and make pottery. So almost my entire website's dedicated to my Etsy shop and my workshops and things like that. But I'm starting to figure out how to showcase the Renaissance man within me of everything that I do on one platform.
Everything.
So I'm working on doing that right now. And Nate Winter pretty much everywhere.
Awesome.
Yeah.
A Mack-Davis on Instagram and AdrienneMackDavis.com. Everything's there.
Bada boom. Straight like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wayne Jobson here. So just Wayne Jobson on Instagram and also Wayne Jobson on Facebook. And I have a new band that's coming out next month together with there's a band called Rancid. One of the Tim Armstrong, who's like the godfather of punk in America. It's kind of like the Clash of America, Rancid, and he won a Grammy with Pink and with Jimmy Cliff. And so Tim and I have a new band together. We call it Rockstone Rockers, together with a girl called Cecile, which is one of the top female singers in Jamaica. So 3 of us together. It's called Rockstone Rockers. The song is called Orange Street, and you can watch out for it. Rockstone Rockers.
Yeah, Brian Jobson. I have a couple, side projects. One is called Bass Over Babylon, which is kind of a techno reggae, dance type of thing. BassOverBabylon.com, and on Spotify and those things. And then also I'm working with a a jazz pianist out of Jamaica. I mean, world class. Monty Alexander. You probably, just check montyalexander.com. Check him out.
Amazing. Tap in everywhere and make sure you tap in with Missing Piece when it drops on Friday. And come out to that party, man. It's going to be a good time.
Thank you, brother.
Great, man.